Oh, that guitar solo still arouses me greatly. Hello everyone and welcome to Let's Play Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie featuring Ivan Ooze for the Super Nintendo. And starting off, I'm actually going on to normal mode and switching the sound settings around just because I felt like it. And now we're gonna go right on in. And like the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game, we have a choice of 5 Rangers, only this time around we actually got 6 because Tommy's now here. And you're gonna notice Jason, Zach, and Trini are now gone. They're replaced by their season, I think it was late season 2 counterparts, Rocky, Adam, and Aisha. And we're starting off with my favorite Ranger out of the bunch, actually, in terms of both gameplay and in character, Adam, played by Johnny Young Bosch. Now, before I get into like actor trivia and such, let's go over the main gameplay differences. First off, you basically have no combos. You get one punch, an uppercut by pressing up and attack, a drop kick, a duck attack, and that's about it. But we do have some main differences. First off, there are 2 planes of existence. There's a background in the foreground for most of the stages, which you switch between them by pressing L and R. Health-wise, you only got 5 hits this time around. However, the enemies also have less attacks to compensate for that, so you probably won't be taking as many hits unless you're incredibly reckless. You also have a life system like before, and if you die, you're sent right back in with 5 health. The biggest addition is that, first off, this game is actually 2-player. Unlike the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game on Super Nintendo, where the 2-player was just an optional mode for the Cyclopsis and Mutitus fights. Though I've actually only played like 5 minutes in the multiplayer, I don't recall it being that good, all things considered. And that enemies will drop these little lightning bolts to power up that power meter in the bottom. The power meter you use by pressing X. Most of the characters just have, well actually no, every character has a little attack, like Adam has a little Hadouken. But if you use it when it's fully maxed out, you will morph into your Power Ranger form. And your Power Ranger form, as we'll get into, has some minor differences. Now, as for Johnny Young Bosch, I think out of all of the original Mighty Morphin cast, he had the most amount of roles after his particular series, because most of his live-action roles were Power Rangers, I'm not going to lie. And even though he had a few roles before Power Rangers even. But most of his roles are as voice acting. He's a very, prolific voice actor. Not as much as, say, like Steve Bloom, but a good amount. In terms of, like, noteworthy roles, I actually have a list here that I wrote up. He's Crest from the Tales of Fantasia anime, he's Lelouch from Code Geass, he's Izaya from Durarara, Brock from Pokemon Origins, JoJo from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Part 1, Rossio from Gurren Lagann, Vash from Trigun, Yukio from Blue Exorcist, Renton from Eureka 7, Ichigo from Bleach, Guy from Tales of the Abyss, Nero from Devil May Cry 4, Emil from Tales of Symphonia Dawn of the New World, Yu from Persona 4, Yang from Street Fighter 4, and there's a lot more where that came from. And in terms of why he's actually one of my favorite characters to play as in the game, it's because of his jump attack, actually. He and the Red Ranger share this. Most of the other people, their jump attacks are actually just a punch in midair, but Rocky and Adam get a drop kick, which is very effective for enemies. Now, in terms of enemy variety, I'm not going to lie, there's actually not as much as there was in the last one. There's only like 2 main kinds of putties we're going to be seeing throughout, which are the gray ones and the purple ones. Purple ones take 2 hits, grays take 1, and each stage I think has 1 or 2 unique enemies, but that's about it. Either way, press X when your power meter's maxed out and you morph. And the sprites are reused right out of the first game. When you're a Power Ranger, your moveset's basically the exact same, only now the damage is doubled. You now kill the purples in 1 shot, so on and so forth. You still collect power, I guess lightning bolts, but upon collecting full bars worth, you'll instead get your weapon, like the Black Ranger will get his power axe. And once you have the weapon, you can do more. I think you do, triple damage when you have the weapon out. I'm not entirely sure about that. But you can also just press the X button to do a bomb attack, similarly to the first Power Rangers game. And that's most of the main gameplay differences. And we got a little mini-boss here. This guy, the first stage really likes to teach you the fact that there's 2 planes, because there's all sorts of like cars and such that try to hit you and such, and the boss's attacks. Not many of the other stages really utilize the 2 planes like this. They generally just say, hey, here's 2 so you can avoid some minor stuff. Also, I see that little advertising there, Bondi. Throughout the stages are also these little canisters. They're not random. I think they are fixed as what they contain. They either contain large lightning bolts, which I think do almost a full segment rather, of the power bar, or a burger, which is healing. It's a fairly basic game, and I will say this, it is harder than the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game we played, but it's still a lot of fun. In fact, I will say, while I loved the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game soundtrack, I actually like this one a lot more, because first off, the rendition of the main theme is a lot better in my eyes, and it doesn't have audio clips that cut out like, "Go, go, Power Ranger." The song couldn't contain the awesomeness, I guess. There are sections like this where you are restricted to only one plane. Usually it's the foreground. In fact, later in the game, I'm particularly thinking of the final stage, you don't have a choice of planes at all. So it really makes me question the big why sort of thing. Also notable, you can tell that this was Season 2 because the putties had the little Z vests on, which were supposed to make the putties stronger, but it just gave them a much more obvious weak spot because as soon as you punch that damn Z, they're destroyed. Season 2 was weird. And you can tell it's Season 2 because all the boss fights are from Season 2. This is Mirror Master. Mirror Maniac, sorry. What's Mirror Master? Oh no, Mirror Master is the Flash. That's why. My bad. And he's very simple. In fact, I'm killing him really quickly, actually. He likes to teleport all over the place and send 2 clones of himself out. The real one's the one that has the mirror lit up. He has a projectile attack which shoots 1 shot above you, 2 on hard mode. And that's about it. He's a very easy boss there to teach you the stuff, really. Most of the bosses actually don't have too much of a difference on hard mode. Usually it's just how much they'll use this one attack or how this one attack works. But as you can see, that was pathetic. They also gave you the power canisters so you can power up your power meter in the middle of a boss fight. That's pretty cool. And that's stage 1. Unlike the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers game, there are no passwords, though. If you die, you have to start the entire game over again, which, kind of stupid, but oh well. And in terms of how I'm going in the Ranger orders this time around, I'm taking the exact same order I took in the last game. Since we stayed black, we're heading into yellow with Aisha, played by Karen Ashley, who honestly hasn't done too much aside from Power Rangers. She's been in some other stuff, yes, like there's this Devin's Ghost thing I recall seeing at one point in my life. But honestly, most people just know her as Aisha Campbell. And this stage is weird because first off, well, I will say this first off, I love this song in particular. These planes are constantly flying over this aircraft carrier, and the wind that they're generating actually ends up pushing you back towards the left a bit, which I don't really get the point of. Maybe it's to put you into enemy attacks because some enemies don't get affected by it, but it's kind of just a pointless gimmick. Now, people who have seen the movie are probably wondering, what the hell does this have to do with the Power Rangers movie? I see Power Rangers, but I don't see any of the movie stuff. That's because I had to look this up to confirm it. I don't think this game originally started its development cycle as a game for the movie, because all the monsters are from Season 2. The only reference we even get to the movie is Ivan Ooze himself, who is the final boss. So, something is up there. I'm not entirely sure what, but something is. And you can really kind of tell, I think, that unless Ivan Ooze, like, usurped Zed or something, that Zed was supposed to be the main villain of this game, because first off, all the monsters are ones that he used in Season 2. And his logo is prominently featured everywhere in the damn stages. Also, what you saw me do there was Aisha's special attack. She basically does a ground pound out of Mario. It does, I think, almost exactly 2 damage. And that's surprisingly useful. It has a good amount of range, too. And you're completely invincible while you do it. So it's actually pretty useful. It's probably actually my favorite of the actual abilities in the game. Aisha's not the character I use the most, though. That's usually either Rocky or Adam. Purely just because I like them the most, because of that dropkick. There's also here we get the third kind of the putty, the yellow ones, which jump back when you try to attack them, similar to the getting the name of the skeletons from Zelda for some reason. Stelphos! There we go, Stelphos. There we go. It's particularly the ones from the Oracle series, because they jump away the moment you try to swipe at them. Really? The stages are all... I'll admit, I like the actual stages, but for the most part, you could basically have any stage at any point and you're fine, because honestly, the levels don't get much harder. They look different, and they all have some slight unique enemies like this, but there's nothing to really worry about in these stages, though. There's actually something I entirely forget to do here. The, I guess, mortars these guys are shooting, you can knock them back by punching them. I generally don't do that because in most games when something like this happens, you generally cannot hit the things they're shooting at you back. Plus, I like to focus on dodging anyway, just because at this point they start throwing enemies at these things at you. And that's not a good combination for me, especially when I accidentally jump into them. Ah! Ow. But here's one of the purposes of Power Ranger form. It also restores your health to max. So really good there. Also, as you can tell, they just reused the same sprite and recolored it for all the Rangers again. Except for Tommy. He gets his own Ranger form because the White Ranger looked radically different than the than the Mighty Morphin costumes, purely because, you know, it's from a different series. Now, if I recall, wasn't there actually an adaptation of Power Rangers on, like, USA or something before Mighty Morphin Power Rangers happened? It was like a parody of Dynaman. That sounds right. I recall there being something like that, but I can't quite recall. Admittedly, this particular gameplay style for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers games is actually closer to what they kept on doing from this point on for Power Rangers games, especially on the handheld side, because particularly for me, the Power Rangers Ninja Storm game I had as a kid on the Game Boy Advance played very similarly to a mixture of this and the first Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Super Nintendo game. It had a lot of the elements from both, basically, even though, looking back, that game was not that good. In fact, none of the Power Rangers Game Boy Advance games were. They were pretty choppy. But I guess they entertained kids, sort of. They made the Megazord battles kind of creatively at times, particularly in the Ninja Storm game, where they were basically the reaction time minigame from Kirby. Either way, with that enemy killed, it is now boss time. And this boss, I think his name is Cannonhead. He's actually fairly simple. Well, first off, obviously there's spikes on the ground in front of the contraption he's in, so you can't get too close. Cannon top. Okay, I was close enough. His main attack that he uses on normal mode is this cannon attack, which blows up parts of the ground. He has another attack where he fires straight forward, and you can basically just dodge that by standing up on the platform on the bottom. He tends to do the latter attack more on hard mode. The basic strategy for this, stay on the platforms and attack them whenever you can. Kick when you're hanging on top of the thing on the top, and punch on the bottom. Build up any power you can, and hopefully you'll go down soon enough. Admittedly, I do like this guy's design, though. Even back in Die Ranger, I thought this guy looked cool. It's just the fact that he did not get used too well. Mind you, I recall the Die Ranger footage for Season 2, looking back, kind of being choppy in terms of how well it was adapted. Because there were times where Tommy's character in particular, you can tell that they were just using the footage from Die Ranger because he was acting like a 7-year-old in the body of a, like, 15, 18-year-old. Which, to be fair, that's what Ko was, but yeah. Either way, he exploded it. And that's the end of Stage 2. Also, I love this game's boss theme. And with that, we're moving on to Stage 3 as well. Also, similarly to a lot of games back then, you get extra lives every certain amount of points. I want to say it's 50,000. Or no, 5,000. One of the two. And next up, if you recall the last LP, it's time for us to take a look at Billy, who's looking like he just had a shower in that portrait right there. Oh, Billy. I never understood exactly why Billy, of all characters, was the one that stayed. Mind you, I know the reason that the original 3 left is because of contract disputes, but... But thankfully I don't have to go over any actor information for him, so I'm pretty good there. Oh, hey, the boss already. So, ladies and gentlemen, the rest of this stage is what I like to call Frostman stage. We are constantly going down this on an auto-scroller. And it's a pretty simple one too, though grabbing lightning bolts is really annoying to do in this stage. You kind of need to wait until they're in front of you in order to grab them, honestly. There's going to be all sorts of rocks and even little fences in the way of your road, so basically you just need to stay towards the middle of the back. Look out for those little exclamation point signs and don't jump onto the rocks like I did there. This stage goes on a bit too long in my eyes, but Or at least this particular gimmick of the stage, but it's nothing too bad. Jump whenever you see a hole like that, because the bottomless pit is instant kill, which is no good. One thing in particular I actually always found odd is the fact they didn't decide to use the Ooze man from the movie, because Ivan Ooze has his own kind of gang of mooks, but we never get to see them. I can understand maybe if they used them only for the stage that Ivan Ooze was in, but as we'll see, that's not the case. Also, enemies sometimes drop food, but I think it's either set enemies or it's entirely random and it's just a very low chance. Love this song, by the way. Well, we actually haven't seen my favorite song in the game yet. That's not until stage 5, but it's really good stuff. Also, duck here. You will get damaged otherwise. I swear they actually use that exact same sound effect in the Power Rangers Game Boy Advance games. Looking back, I don't actually think I ever beat the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Ninja Storm game. Or Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Ninja Storm. It's just Power Rangers Ninja Storm, Kyle. Slap your own face for that. Ow. Thanks, Kyle. You're welcome, Kyle. I'm talking to myself again. This is bad. And at this point, we're no longer going down a hill, though. We're just down a river, so it's just now a basic auto-scroller. Honestly, though, it's nothing too much more interesting. Though, for some reason, whenever I think of this game, this is the stage I think of, and I don't know why. Maybe it's because I died on it the most as a kid, because of those stupid fish that jump out of the water and can explode for some reason. But yeah, that's weird. Thankfully, these developers were smart enough to think of the fact of putting little signs in the background that alert me to any future oncoming danger. But I still wish they could have thought of more original stuff for it. Also, Billy's the only character you don't get to see the special attacks of. Why? Because honestly, I have never gotten enough power in this stage to be able to use my weapon in bomb attack. I mean, I guess feasibly you could just wait around long enough in the boss and be able to do it, but I don't like doing that kind of stuff. I like to kill the boss as quickly as possible. So we're just gonna have to wait for that. Though, actually, technically speaking, there are 6 stages in the game, so I could have done it if I waited long enough, I guess. Well, no, 7 stages, not 6. Either way, time for the boss of this stage. And one I think is actually easier on hard mode, Skelerena. Skelerena likes to teleport a lot. And in hard mode, it uses almost exclusively that teleport attack to get on your row, so it's honestly a lot easier because it doesn't use as much of its other attacks. It can also dash across the screen, do a little ground pound kind of thing, but overall, it's kind of easy. Admittedly, timing yourself, because you do actually have to jump either away from it or into the background a lot in this fight can be annoying, but as soon as you get used to that, there's nothing really special here. Though, after watching Die Ranger, this boss fight in particular is actually a bit more odd because you know what this character's equivalent was, and good lord, Jin was a badass. Mind you, looking back at Die Ranger, a lot of the characters had really badass moments, like the whole Ryo Jin fight was pretty cool. Daigo punching his way out of hell in a guy's stomach was completely badass, and that's why he's my favorite Ranger in that series. Even the villains had a lot of good moments. Except Kazu. Kazu didn't really do much in that series. Really though, Skelerena, not a very hard fight. It's more so a war of attrition because it'll end up teleporting away from you more often than not. Just keep an eye on what he's doing, and you should be fine. I think it's a he. I honestly forget. I haven't watched the Season 2 of Mighty Morphin in about 4 or 5 years, so I don't remember much about it, honestly. Other than Zed being, in general, kind of badass for a guy who has no skin. That was actually a really intimidating villain design. I wish they could have done more with it. And that's the end of Stage 3. But with that, we're gonna need to end this off here. Where I say that as if there's more than one of me here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 2, we're heading on to Stage 4 and seeing what lays beyond it as well. See you guys then.